So I guess you can spend months building a business just to realize it's not for you. Here's why I'm shutting down my private label business. So maybe at some point you also thought of trying out private labeling or dropshipping or a clothing brand using print on demand. If you haven't heard of these before, don't worry about it. I'll talk about these more later in the video. But like a lot of people, I thought these would be pretty good options for a beginner entrepreneur like myself. I guess I had to learn the hard way why it wasn't right for me. So here's my story. About 9 months ago, I quit my job because I realized I wasn't learning the things that I really wanted to learn. And I thought it'd be really fun to learn how to make passive income for myself. Think about this. If you could just take a few months to build something that could make you money while you sleep, that'd be pretty sweet, right? And even though I've never started a successful business before, I just thought I could do it. Maybe you've also seen all those online entrepreneurs talk about how easy it was to start their first dropshipping company or private label business and find a bunch of success and become millionaires. So if they can do it, why can't I? At that point, I thought it'd also be pretty smart to use one of these really popular business models to create an online business. And what was I hoping to accomplish with this? I wanted to see if I could prove to myself that I could make money on my own without a job and maybe be one of the lucky ones that somehow get rich quick. So 3 months after I decided that, I've had a chance to basically create some good routines for myself, take a break from working in corporate for a while, and most importantly, brainstorm and research a bunch of potential business ideas I could use. That's when I also decided to start this YouTube channel because I really wanted to document my own journey as well as teach really important lessons that I learned along the way to other people too. I always thought it'd be pretty cool to build an online business and document at the same time. So the idea I had for the online business was basically helping other local businesses get more customer reviews. After all, a lot of local businesses depend on these customer reviews to get more visibility and get more customers through the door, knowing that they have high quality services. But what product or service should I sell? It was tough because I never really had any experience creating physical products or creating a service, which is probably why all these very popular business models that internet gurus push online were pretty appealing to me. Let me go through some of the really popular ones that get talked about a lot online. All right, let's start with dropshipping. So dropshipping is basically when your store is already selling manufactured products that have been created in other countries, usually countries with lower cost production like China. And basically what would happen is you would take their products and list them on your website. When a customer decides to buy from your store, the order gets sent to the manufacturer in China, and they basically receive the order, pack and ship it to your customer directly. That way, you as a store don't have to hold any inventory, and all you have to do is focus on marketing the products. The downside here is that you can't really put your own brand on the products, and also there's not really any room for quality control since the manufacturer takes care of all the fulfillment for you. Another downside for this is that there's usually pretty low margins involved since there's so many other people around the world selling that same product in their store too. But overall, it doesn't cost that much money to get this up and running, and you can basically have a store ready to go within just a week. Honestly, even less time. The second popular one is print on demand. And print on demand is interesting because basically as the store owner, you are taking original art or graphics that you create, and these graphics essentially get printed onto customizable products like mugs, t-shirts, pillows, and eventually sent out to your customer directly. And usually a print-on-demand supplier does this all for you. So very much like dropshipping, you won't have much control over the quality control. The margins are also quite low. Usually the suppliers charge a pretty high premium to do the printing and the fulfillment for you. I would say this is pretty popular with a lot of clothing brands, especially bootstrapped ones, that simply just want to use their creative art and get them onto already made t-shirts and hoodies and other products like that. Cool. So the third one is actually private labeling. And the reason private labeling is very popular is because it's sort of like a step up above dropshipping. Essentially, you're also taking products that have already been designed and manufactured in other countries, and you're basically taking your branding and putting it on those products. So this way, you don't have to put too much effort into creating these new products yourself, but you still have more autonomy over the branding aspects. The downside to this is that a lot of manufacturers tend to have a minimum order quantity, which is basically the number of units you have to place to them for them to begin putting your branding onto their products. So essentially, you had to invest quite a bit to have your own inventory. On top of that, usually these manufacturers don't fulfill the products themselves, and so you'll have to figure out how to do that. The good news is that you'll basically be able to have higher quality control as a result, and depending on the product you choose, you could have much higher margins. All right, and the last one that I'll talk about that's been getting pretty popular lately is white label software. White label software is like the software version version of private labeling. Basically, there will be companies that create software where they allow a lot of customization. And so their clients, which should be you, the store owners, basically get to put your branding and colors and have them displayed all over that app so it looks like you created it. A lot of the functionality is also pretty customizable, so you can toggle it on and off. You can also separate them by tiers for different pricing subscription plans. And usually the white label software platform's engineering team is constantly creating updates and fixing bugs on your behalf. For all four of these options, the reason why they're so popular for beginners is because you don't actually need to have any experience in creating these products on your own. The suppliers and manufacturers basically take care of all that for you. And now instead, you can be focusing more of your efforts on the marketing aspect. So basically, after taking a look at these pretty popular options, I thought it'd be pretty interesting to try out private labeling and a white label software platform at the same time, since I did have some ideas on how they could both actually work well together. And I decided to call this business ReviewToast. And for a new entrepreneur like me that didn't have too much resources and experience, I thought it'd be a pretty fun experience. But I didn't know that just a few months later, I'd really regret my decision. All right, moving along the story, it's 8 months now since I quit my job and 4 months since I decided to start creating ReviewToast. I'm definitely working slow, but I made some good progress. At this point, I created that software platform, tested all of its features, created the pricing tiers, made the help guides in the support center, created an email list, and made sure my branding was really obvious all over the platform. I also created a Shopify website to sell the physical private label products. And I managed to find a manufacturer to put my branding on some of these new interesting products I found that I thought would sell pretty well. Actually, let me show you real quick. So basically, because I wanted local businesses to get more customer reviews, I thought that selling something like this, which is an NFC stand, would help them out. Basically, when customers tap their phone onto these stands, it takes them directly to that business's Google review page. They've been getting more popular recently, and they're pretty low cost to buy from manufacturers in China and are pretty light and easy to ship. There's also a card version. So yeah, I was basically able to put my branding onto these products, work with a designer and manufacturer to have a bulk order of these. I had like 100 stands made and like 500 cards made to start. And for that Shopify website, I had to take photos of these, create the product listings, set up the customer notifications so they would get automatic emails when they placed an order and things got shipped out. I also created like an easy setup guide for people to figure out how to set up their own business onto these stands. On top of both the software platform website and the Shopify website, I also had to figure out the fulfillment part, right? Which was figuring out how to print labels, order all the packaging material, design the pack-ins. After all this fulfillment stuff, I also did the marketing piece. Usually marketing for private label businesses is really important. So I set up a Google Ads campaign, created all of these assets for it, like photos, videos, copy, and I even started reaching out to content creators to also create some user-generated content, you know, just to post on like social media platforms and stuff. And lastly, even though this part I definitely did prematurely, I ended up setting up an LLC, created a PO box, even got a business bank account, credit card, which is definitely overkill. Yeah, I pretty much had like the whole business set up, the products, the marketing, fulfillment, legal, and finance pieces. Everything felt set. So at that point, all I had to do was launch, and that's what I did. I wasn't expecting much, honestly. At this point, I only had my Google Ads running, but even then, surprisingly, in the first week, I managed to get some decent traffic and even a few orders. But this is the part of the story when things start to feel a little off to me. And generally by this part of the story, you'd think that I'd be super stoked because I finally had everything set up and it felt like my journey was about to begin, right? It couldn't have been more different. Throughout these months setting up the business and even into launch, I just felt like something was wrong the entire time. I wasn't really waking up excited. I wasn't super happy doing all the work to set this up. And I was just plain finding it hard to stay motivated. I had also been posting regular videos to my YouTube channel, but for some reason, none of them were actually about the business I was creating. I knew that something was wrong and that there was some sort of internal conflict I was having. And it was serious enough for me where I didn't feel like it actually would mean anything, even if I ended up making some money from ReviewToast. And to be really honest, it didn't take too long to figure out what this problem was, because I think deep down, as I was building this whole business out, I already knew the problem. So right now, as I'm filming this, it's September, and I've decided to wind down all operations on ReviewToast. Yeah, I know it feels weird that I just spent all this time explaining to you what it was. In the end, for the 2 weeks that the store was open, I had around 1,500 visitors to the e-commerce store, around $73 in total sales. And for the software platform, I had maybe like 15 users. In total for Google ad spend, it was about $200. And at the time of shutting it down, the traffic was slowly increasing. So maybe I would have gotten more customers, maybe not. Doesn't actually matter, because now I know that running a private label business just isn't for me. And you're probably wondering why. Why did I go through all this trouble, months and months of thinking, brainstorming, setting up the whole business infrastructure just to stop when I finally launched? changed? Well, the first big sign that I knew something was wrong was that I wasn't really enthusiastically telling anyone about my business. And of course, since I quit my job to start a business, you think that I'd be really excited telling people about this new idea I had. And generally I would be. If you ask any of my friends, I get pretty excited about things that I'm really passionate about. But for some reason, it just wasn't happening. The second sign was the fact that I wasn't making anything really business or entrepreneurship related for the YouTube channel, which is weird because one of the whole reasons I started that was to document the journey of creating a business for you all to see. And the third sign that something was wrong was that I wasn't feeling empowered. And in fact, I was feeling drained. I was waking up every morning, like not really stoked to work on this business. So what's the reason for all this? I wasn't being true to myself. Even though private labeling is pushed as a pretty easy way for new entrepreneurs to start a business, there's a few things that I don't like about it. Now, private labeling isn't inherently scammy or evil. After all, it's just a business model. But unfortunately, for a lot of business owners, it is very easy to fall into this trap of creating products that are a bit overpriced and don't add too much value for customers. After all, anyone could go on Alibaba or AliExpress to buy that same product for themselves, right? And probably for way cheaper. And that's not to say that you as a business owner can't make some improvements to these products, but generally the improvements aren't that significant. And really, if you go on Amazon, you'll see that it's just a game to have customers buy your slice of the big pie instead of someone else's. And I totally get it. Like I explained earlier in the video, a lot of inexperienced entrepreneurs like me find private labeling really appealing at first because it doesn't take that much effort to bring this product to market. And really, all I have to do now is just focus everything on marketing. And it really ends up being the business owners that are the best at marketing that end up succeeding well in private labeling. And honestly, a huge reason why it's so popular is also because these online entrepreneurs just want to push it so they can sell courses on it. It's just a really easy to market concept to sell these dreams to people that want to quit their 9-to-5. They always talk about how easy it is to start these businesses, but what they don't talk about is what it could be like to create a new innovative product that actually adds to the conversation, something that's different than everything else out there. And the reason for that is because it's just a harder dream to sell. Look, the reason entrepreneurship drew me in the first place was, yes, I can get more freedom and more autonomy and make money while I'm sleeping, but very importantly, also have an opportunity to contribute something meaningful to society, a new, better solution for problems that we all face. And at the end of the day, something I can be really proud of. When it comes to private labeling, the hardest truth for me to face was that my lack of experience caused so much insecurity that I started to conform to this path that didn't align with my values. In short, selling the same product that everyone else was selling just wasn't my vibe. And as for not sharing this whole journey on YouTube, I think I knew deep down that private labeling just wasn't for me, and I definitely didn't want to be disingenuous. I want to be, and also share with others how to be, an entrepreneur that can provide real differentiated value for customers, something that adds to the conversation and not something you can just buy a carbon copy of on AliExpress, which is why I'm taking a new direction now. At this point, I haven't decided what I want my new business to be exactly, but what I do know is that I want to work on a problem that's deeply personal, and I want to actually show on YouTube this time the full journey with more detail, all the wins and losses, and most importantly, keep showing everyone that failures and learnings are just a natural part of the journey. Yeah, I definitely lost a lot of money and time on this whole ReviewToast thing, but in return, I gained a lot of learnings about business and myself in the whole process. And even though I did say I regretted it in the beginning of this video, I've learned to realize that I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for all these failures. So you know what? I don't regret it. And I know that whatever I try and do next will be all the better because of what I learned from this whole experience. And just to be even more specific, one thing I really learned is that one of the best ways to deal with uncertainty is falling back on first principles, which many times just means starting from your core values, because those are the parts of you that will never change and the parts of you that you can always depend on. Going forward, like I said, I definitely want to build more in the open because I wish I followed more entrepreneurs that built their whole business from beginning to end and showed the whole process. I think it would help a lot of new entrepreneurs and people going through the same journey I am right now. And if anything, it'll just make the whole process a lot more human, showing everything that we experience and learn from the entire journey. And hopefully, with everything that I share, I can help feed everyone's inner entrepreneur. Doesn't matter if building a business is just a side project, side hustle, hobby, or it's more serious, like a full-time small business, startup. I hope the things I talk about can help nurture that feeling to build, just in case one day it might become bigger and more interesting. So believe me, starting a new chapter in your life is really scary. And if you want to learn more, I also made a video about my top 3 fears when I first left my job. So make sure you're subscribed if you're really curious about the next business I build and all the things I experience along that whole path. And also like this video if you've ever considered private labeling or have actually done it. I'd love to learn about other people's experiences too. After all, the most important thing is that people are just trying and learning how to build their own businesses and create solutions that actually help benefit society. All right, thanks again for sticking till the end and see you soon.